So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your time zones. Welcome to the WP Owners Club, and this is module number 5. Today we're going to talk about users and roles. Let me pull up the agenda for today's session. So the agenda for today is we're going to start and we're going to talk about WordPress users, what they're for, how they're used. There's a number of different ways which the different users are used in a WordPress site. I'm going to take you on to creating users. There's a couple of ways to do that. After that, we'll look at WordPress roles. A role is the system that WordPress uses to control what a person can or cannot do inside of a site. I'm going to take you through the roles in detail so you get a good feel of what can and cannot be done. And then we'll move on to extending users and roles. The system is fairly simple, but it can be extended with plugins. I'll take you through that as well. After that, we'll go to a demo. I'm going to create a number of different types of user, some admin, editors, authors, that kind of thing. I'm going to take you through creating those users, and then I'm going to show you exactly what the roles give a user when they log in. After that, we'll move on to the Q&A as usual. This session is not very long because users and roles is not a very big topic, so I estimate it's going to take us 30-40 minutes tops to get through this particular module. Let's get into the module then. So, about WordPress users. What does a WordPress user allow us to do? First and foremost, it controls access to the dashboard. To get into the back end of a WordPress site, you need to go through the usual login and authentication process. So that's the key reason we have users. The second reason is to control access to who can see content. If you remember back to the content module, there was the ability to mark a post or a page as private. To see that particular post, you'd have to log in as a user. That's how users use to control access to content. Users are also used to control access to who can comment on a site. Again, thinking back to the content section, when we went through the commenting part of that module, you'll remember there was an ability to checkbox to say that a person had to log in and be authenticated before they could leave a comment. That's another way users are used. Next, of course, if you've got multiple users or multiple authors creating content for your site, having multiple users is good to create a distinction between those authors. So for example, if you're running a blog that's more like a magazine with multiple reporters, somebody might follow a particular author, so you can divide content up by that person. And lastly, but no means least, is the segregation of duties. Using roles against a user, you can create admin level users, editors, authors. I'll take you through those roles in depth pretty soon. So creating users, two ways to do that. You can enable self-registration, so a visitor to your site can create a user ID for themselves. That needs to be enabled. I'll take you through that in the demonstration, how we can enable that and how a person can create their own user. Second way we create users is via the dashboard. There's a user menu down on the bottom left of your WordPress dashboard that allows you to create users. Inside there you can create users, assign roles, change passwords. Again, in the demonstration, we're going to go through creating and managing users in depth. Moving on to WordPress roles. A user is assigned to a single role. It can only be one role at any one time. And what the role does is it controls what they can and cannot do on a WordPress site. So there's 5 roles. From the top with the most permission down to the bottom, they go administrator, editor, author, contributor, and lastly subscriber. I'm going to take you through all those roles in detail now. First role, administrator. A user with an admin role has full access to everything on a WordPress site. They can do things like administer the plugins, add themes, update the WordPress core files. They also have complete control over all content on a site, so they can add, edit, delete posts and pages. They can moderate comments, all the content side of things. They can do all that. They can change site-wide settings. So if you want to change the name of your site or any emails, an administrator can do all those things. And of course, they can add, edit, and delete users. And at the bottom I say anything else. They are the super user for the site. They have complete control over everything. Moving down a layer, we have the editor role. What they can do is have full control over content. So what they can't do is add, edit, delete themes and plugins. They can't change any of the WordPress options. They can't do any of the update type jobs that you need to do. Their role is just to be an editor of the content. So they can add, edit, publish and delete pages and posts. They can do that to their own content or to other users' content. And they can also moderate comments. So I hope you can see the distinction there between the editor and the admin. The admin can do everything, but is more focused on technical tasks, whereas the editor is solely focused on the content side of your site. Moving down another level, so as we go down, the roles give less and less access to the user. So the author role has full control over their own content. And another distinction there, they only get access to posts. So they can add, edit, publish, delete, make a post draft, but only their own posts that they've created themselves. They can also upload and add images or videos or other embedded content. Lower still is the contributor. What they can do is they can create content, again just posts, so no posts, no pages. They can create content that has to be approved by an editor. So they can add and edit a blog post, and then when they're ready for it to go through the editorial process, they can mark it as pending, and then an editor can publish it. Once it's published, and be moved to live on the site, they don't have any further access to that particular blog post. And they also cannot add any images into that post. So it's quite a low level contributor. So the idea is this person is not fully trusted like an author. So they add the text, it's then passed up into an editorial process for it to be approved, for images to be added, and for it to be published. The last role is the subscriber role, and the job of the subscriber role is to let people read content. So if you're not a user on a site, you can read the public content. Subscribers can also do that, but subscribers can also read content that's marked as private. We'll go through that again in the demonstration just in case you need a refresher from the content week. So I've quickly gone through the users and roles system for a WordPress site. It's not that complicated, but what you can do is you can extend that user and role system to add additional functionality to the site, and you do that through plugins. Here's some examples I've added. You can, using the existing user and role system, you can create a members only site. If you check out the members only area on the WP Owners Club, I use a plugin called Wishlist Member. What that does is it allows me to take existing WordPress user IDs and passwords and then control which content you can see. So if you're not logged in or if you're not the right membership level, you can't see that particular post or page. But it does a little bit more than that. It also integrates with PayPal, it integrates with email providers, it cancels accounts, it suspends accounts. So it gives you that membership site using the existing underlying users and role system. If you want to use the WordPress user system to collect more information, to treat it more as a customer database, you can extend that using this SIME user fields. What you could do, for example, is when somebody registers, you could ask them to fill in their name, address, telephone, for example, and you could collect that and use that from within the user database inside of WordPress. You can extend the roles by editing roles using the Role Scoper plugin. If the 5 built-in roles aren't detailed enough for you, you can create extended roles. So an example of that might be you want the editor role to be able to add new themes. You could change the scope of the rule using that rule scoper plugin. Going on, we've even got CRM type plugins. There's two I've added there. Simple CRM, you can capture user IDs and passwords and start sending out emails and track interactions you've had with your customers, all from the existing WordPress user and rule system. Last but not least, you can also customize the login page. So if you are using the back end and you are getting people to log in, you can make the login panel look a bit more customized, make it match your company's look and feel just by this custom login pages plugin. Links to all these plugins will be in the members area, so if you're interested in looking at any of those, you'll be able to download the links from the members area. So we'll come to the end of the presentation. I said we'd be fairly quick on this one, so we're going into the demo now. We're going to create some users, and I'm going to demonstrate how user IDs are used throughout WordPress. And lastly, I'm going to create various users in different roles, so I can give you a better feel of exactly what you can and cannot do when you're assigned to different roles. Let's move over to my demonstration site now. As usual, we're going to use dev.wp2.com, and first thing we're going to do is log in and look at the login page. This is how you normally log in, but in case you haven't noticed it before, there is a password reset option here. Click on lost your password, type in either your username or your password, and a password reminder prompt will be sent to your email address. I'll not go through changing the password process now, but just give you a feel for that's how you do it. Please bear in mind there's a time limit on that reset, so if you request a new password and you don't activate it within an hour or so, that request becomes dormant and you'll have to request a new password. Let's log in. Helps if I can remember my password today. Yes, I'm in there. First thing I'd like to show you is how you can set a WordPress site so that users can register their own user IDs and passwords. As I said in the presentation, you need to enable this option. So if you go into settings and then general, you'll find that there's this membership option and that anyone can register. So if we click on that, that means anyone who visits your site can create a user ID and password for themselves. And they'll also be added to a default role. Be very careful, I've done this in the past. I dropped that down and left that as administrator by accident. So that means anyone could come to my site, register and become an administrator, and the hacking potential is unlimited then. So make sure it's a subscriber. So if I save those changes and then log out, you'll see that I've got this new register option here. So if I click on register, I can create a new user. We'll call this user subscriber. And if I check my email address, you'll see that a new user will have been created and a password sent out via email. There we have it there. There we have that subscriber user. Excuse me. I don't recommend you leave that option active if you're not planning to let users create their own user IDs. I say that because hackers are once rung up the ladder of getting into your site once they have a user ID and password. The majority of the time, as an administrator, you're going to create the user IDs for people that you want to access your site. So let's log in as an administrator now and take you through. I'm having problems with my passwords tonight. and take you through the process of creating new users. If we scroll down to the users section here, I'll give you a quick tour of the user dashboard. So we can see that we've got 4 users set up on this site. We can see where the administrators are, the authors, the contributors. Click on any one, we can edit it. So we can set things like the name. We can set up a nickname. So that's what's displayed on the front end of the site. Oh, sorry, the display name is what is displayed on the front end of your site. And we can set up various contact and biographical information about that particular user. This will all be used on author pages on the front end of your site. If you want to add a new user, the option up here, click on Add New. What we'll do is we'll create an editor user. So we can call this user editor. Just give it my name. You can put the website in to link back from the bio page if you want to, and then we'll set a password. Nice little feature here, we have a password strength indicator, so that gives us a feeling for how strong that particular password you've typed in is. We can send out the password via email, we'll do that, and then lastly this is where we set the rule, so we're going to make this an editor. I think I did exactly what I was saying I wasn't going to do. I've left the registration as an administrator, so let's just edit subscriber and change that role from an administrator down to a subscriber, just so you can see what that looks like. Excuse me. I'm currently logged in as an administrator, so you can see that we've got all of the menu options available to us down the left hand side here. So we can edit the posts, pages, but we can also do things like add themes in the appearance, and we can also manage the plugins. What I'm going to do is I'm going to log out and log back in again as different roles. The first one I'm going to go in is as an editor. Immediately you'll see the menu on the left hand side is considerably cut down. So all we've got access to are posts, media, so that's images and videos that you upload or add, and pages and comments. So those are the functions we can do. So we can add, edit posts, pages, upload media, and moderate comments. We've got some profile information, so you can change your own profile information. So if you want to change your name, for example, you can do that. And there's some tools, but the tools that you'll have access to are only relevant to your role. So we've got Press This, which is a tool that allows you to create shortcuts and create content. So nothing else, that's all we have. So if we look into posts, add a new test post, you can see we've got full access to all the normal content creation tools. If we log out and go another layer down, we'll log in as an author. Again, you'll see that we're getting less and less available to us in our menus. The posts have gone, and but we still have access to comments, to moderate comments. If I go to all posts, you'll see that there are some posts from users other than author that I don't have access to. So the only content I can get access to is stuff I've created myself. So if I add a new one, test author, save that as draft, return to the posts. Again, only the stuff I've created is made available to me. Next layer down, so we've gone admin, editor, author. Next one down is contributor. Now, if again, all we have access to are posts that we've created. If I add a new one, where we expect to see some publish buttons over here, all we have now is submit for review, and we don't have any of the uploads and media embed buttons available to us. All we can do is add text. And if we submit it for review and look at our post list now, you can see we've got this pending posts. We can't publish it, but we could edit it. Now, if we log out, go back in as the editor, the editor goes in and does their job of proofreading and approving that particular post. They click on publish, and that's the contributor's post is made live. What happens to the contributor now is they can still see their post, but it's been made live and they can no longer edit it. So once it's gone through the editorial process, that's it. The contributor's ability to edit or delete or update that post has been taken away entirely. Moving on to the last rule now, we're going to look at subscribers. I'll just register a new user very quickly. Oh, hang on, that's the one. There we have a subscribers dashboard. Even though they don't have access to anything, they can still get into the dashboard and they can look in the back end of your site. But they have no access. What I did earlier though is I created a private post. Which I've deleted since. I'll create a new private post. So if I add new post, I'm going to create a private post, mark it as private and publish. If you remember back to the content module, any private posts can only be seen if you're logged in. So if I log out now, I can't see that particular post. But if I log in as a subscriber again, and go to the front end of our site, the system makes a liar of me. This is all live, you know. No safety net. Let me just double check what's going on here. As you can see, we can't see it when we're not logged in. Now if we log in, I'm having some technical issues with the private posts. I'll record a little add-on video to show that working correctly. Once I solve those technical problems, I'll move on with the rest of the presentation, and I'll get back to you with that soon. So that's really the end of the demonstration. We've looked at how to create users and the various user settings. We've also been through the rules, and I've created 5 different users, logged into them, and showed you how user rules work on a WordPress site. Let's go back to the presentation. So, quick recap. We talked about WordPress users, why they're used. They're used for various reasons: for authentication, for protecting content, for controlling who can comment. We went through creating them. We went through the roles that are available to them. Remember, the roles are administrator, which is super user, editor, author, contributor, and subscriber. And I'll give you a demonstration of creating users and rules. The next session is all about WordPress maintenance. Whereas this session has been pretty short, so only 30 minutes or so. Next one will be a little bit longer, and we'll go in depth about all the various maintenance tasks that you need to look after your WordPress site. So updating WordPress core, updating plugins, and probably one of the most important aspects of this module will be the backup and recovery section I'll take you through. So that's users and rules in a nutshell. Very quick module. What I'm going to do now is hand you the floor back to you and ask if you have any questions.